Hello everyone, Jules here. Today I'd like to talk about some books about a lesser known esoteric artist. And I've got some books here that are about the life and artistic work of Rosaleen Norton. So I've got this book here. It's called The Magical World of Rosaleen Norton. The book's called Pan's Daughter. So here is the cover of the book. I've got 3 books to talk about here. All 3 of them are about the work and magical life of Rosaleen Norton. So I'll just show you the first book that I ever got about Rosaleen Norton. Rosaleen Norton was an artist who lived for many years in Australia, and I have to admit that it was probably the most influential person, or the most influential book that I read in the mid-90s, called Pan's Daughter. This is the hardcover version. It was written in 1988, and I discovered this book in the mid-90s. And for me, it was quite influential. And the author, Nevill Drury, was an academic at the time who also lived many years in Australia. And that is another reason why the esoteric art of Rosaleen Norton is not as well known in the Northern Hemisphere. It's sometimes known in esoteric circles, sometimes in the UK, because Nevill Drury did publish these books in the UK as well. This is the Australian version of the book. And as I was saying, this was very influential for me at the time, and it probably is the whole reason why I ventured into esoteric studies and magic and all of those related things. Probably this is one of the main reasons. So I'm going to show some of the pictures in this book and also talk about the artist. Nevill Drury, the author, actually published and wrote many books on esoteric subjects. His first book was written with Stephen Skinner, who was also a friend of his. And Stephen Skinner is also Australian, but Stephen Skinner has lived overseas in Singapore for many years. So just to give you an example, these are black and white pictures, but I'll give you an example of some of the artwork. Now this black and white picture of Rosaleen Norton's art is showing herself in astral journey, and this is portraying ectoplasm coming out of her mouth at the time of astral journeying. Rosaleen Norton was a trance artist, and she used the method of self-hypnosis to venture into astral travelling, astral journeying, and this would inspire her art. So I'll just show some other things that are in here. There is this one that is on the colour copy of the other book I'm going to talk about. This is the black and white picture of the art, where she's on a kind of a Pegasus Griffin hybrid mythological figure here. So Rosaleen Norton lived in Australia for about 50 years. She came to Australia from New Zealand as a child and then spent 50 years in Australia. I'll just see if I can pick up this other. There's this other. I think I've got this in another book, but anyway, you can see this one. This book is very likely to be out of print. Very likely to be out of print. But the good news is that the next two books I'm going to show are well and truly in print. So this is a smaller hardcover version about the life and art of Rosaleen Norton. It's called The Strange World of Rosaleen Norton. So that's that book. Now, just to talk a little bit about Rosaleen Norton first before I talk about the other two books. So, Rosaleen Norton's magical practice was to do with trance magic. So there were trance magic episodes that were all part of astral journeying using self-hypnosis. So that this was travelling on the astral planes. And Rosaleen Norton also kept grimoires, and she also kept diaries of her experiences during these astral journeys. And she often said that during those times she encountered God forms and entities. But her principal deity was Pan. And so the figure of Pan was in a lot of the drawings and paintings of Rosaleen Norton. She was also a left-hand path practitioner, and particularly in regards to Tantra. And most of these practices were based on the writings of Aleister Crowley. She was quite a keen follower of Crowley's methods, and she actually had access to the writings of Crowley's books well before they were widely published. So this was in the particularly in the 1940s, 1940s and 50s, when these books were just not widely publicised. They were in limited editions, and she was able to access these limited editions of Crowley's writings, which we know about now, but these particular practices and ideas and concepts greatly influenced the art and the practices, the magical practices of Rosaleen Norton. And she also had an altar to Pan. But these were all of her own practices that were based on the writings of Crowley. So she was one of the first left-hand path practitioners of the Western world, of modern times. So that's the background of the magical practices of Rosaleen Norton. Now the second book, this is in the order that they've been published. Homage to Pan You can see this beautiful colour copy of her work here. It's a surrealistic expressionism, but it's just gorgeous. And there's so many images inside the artwork, and they all have esoteric meaning. So this is the type of artwork that I really like and have liked for many years. But what very much involved me in the art and the ideas of Rosaleen Norton was the connection with Crowley, and it actually led to my interest in Kabbalah and Crowley for me in the last several years, many years. So I'll just see if I can show this other picture as well. And Rosaleen Norton also wrote very interesting mythological poetry. So you can see this too. These books also have black and white pictures of the artwork, but as you can see, even though they're black and white, they are worth having. So you can see all the imagery that's in this one. Just amazing. She has been compared to Austin Osman Spare, but the art is different, and also the ideas and concepts are different. Austin Osman Spare is really the father of chaos magic. Austin Osman Spare created his own form of magic and his own ideas, his own concepts, whereas Rosaleen Norton, this was very much based on the ideas of Crowley and Eastern Tantra as well. So that they're the differences. And of course, Rosaleen Norton was also a devotee of Pan. So they are the differences. This book, Homage to Pan, is incredibly well researched. It's quite readily available. This is another favourite of mine. I haven't figured out yet whether this is an actual block print method. If you can see this, excuse me. See if I can get this right in a moment. Yes, here we are. This is one of my favourites. And this is based obviously on Baphomet. This is one of my favourites. I just love the black and white tones. It's just amazing. It looks like it may be a wood block method, but I'm not too sure, or a lino cut. But there's a lot of symbolism in here. And of course, Baphomet is really another representation of Pan as well. So it's amazing. I'll just see if I can find out by looking at this a little bit further whether I can see what method was used for that one. That one's also got astrological symbols in it as well. It's actually got the whole of the zodiac all around, encircling the Baphomet figure. Let's see if I can see this. And this is called the Master. This is called the Master, this work of art. See what I can see here. I don't think it actually mentions in here the method. Don't think it mentions the method in the book. No, not really. This book is more about the symbolism and the background to the art and the ideas and the concepts. There's information on Crowley in here, because Crowley was such the main inspiration. So the first chapter is on Rosaleen Norton herself, the background of her life. Then you have the chapter on Aleister Crowley and the OTO. And then you have a chapter on the artist's encounters in the magical universe. Then you've got a chapter on the tantric magic and Homage to Pan. There's a chapter on called Astral Transformations. Next chapter is Occult Visions and Magical Art. And then the last chapter is about just summing up on the connection of Rosaleen Norton and the Left-Hand Path. So this book is quite, as I said, it's should be easy enough for people to buy if they're interested. But it's a fascinating book, and the research that's gone into this book is just amazing. Nevill Drury did actually know Rosaleen Norton, and he met her 2 years before she died, and that was the time that he used to fully research her life and art. So that's that book. And I'll just talk about the third book that is more recent. So this was published in 2009. This was published in 2009. So I'm pretty sure it's still available. So you can still get that book. And the most recent book is Pan's Daughter. These books all by Nevill Drury and all about the art and magical life of Rosaleen Norton. And they're all different. The older hardcover is more of a summary, so there's not as much information as there is on the second and third book. And so you can see some more of Rosaleen Norton's art here. This book is the English publication, and it's published by Mandrake. And Mandrake is quite a well-regarded English publisher of esoteric authors. This is actually a different book to the second one. It looks similar, but it's actually a different book. The information has been arranged differently, and there's different art illustrations as well. Still black and white, but different art pieces in here. Like for example, there is this one. You can see this one. Just amazing. So, love that. So this book is definitely worth getting as well, because the information, again, incredibly well researched. Nevill Drury had a PhD in philosophy, esoteric philosophy. This paperback edition was published in 2016. This one will be the easiest to get. It's got similar type of chapters to the second book, but it is still a different book. So, and for anyone who's interested with this one, with this third book, the print is a bit larger, which I like. So you might be able to see this other picture on the inside page, one of the drawings here. It's quite incredible. So I won't go through this one because it's got, let's just say the categories are similar, but the information is arranged differently. So they are different books with different pictures as well, different art, different black and white art. So this is the third book. It's also called Pan's Daughter, which is the title of the first hardcover book, but it says here revised and expanded. The Magical World of Rosaleen Norton. So I recommend any of these three books for people who are interested in the connection between art and the left-hand path and Crowley. For those reasons, you know, if you are interested in those things, I mean, this is quite unique. There were not many artists, esoteric artists, who were connected with the left-hand path and with Tantra, magic. So here's the cover of the original book again, Pan's Daughter. So I personally am quite interested in the connection between art, especially surrealist art, and esoteric thought. But to have the bonus of the Crowley ideas, I think I can understand now why this greatly influenced me 25 years ago, and the added bonus of the author and the artist living in Australia, as I do and have for a long time. So for people who are interested in these books, I'll put some details below the video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.